I have been dreaming of a colorful spring full of shabby chic home decor. Friends, in today's episode, we are going to be going girly, using shabby chic tones of distressing. I am so thrilled to share these ideas with you today. We've got 5 projects using Dollar Tree supplies. Now come along and let's make something beautiful for our homes. Remember when this calendar was super popular and everyone wanted to get their hands on it? We're going to be using that today, as well as a wood board plank piece and some white burlap. Take that board, cut the string off. Let's get a piece of that burlap. Let's glue it right on. Remember, when you're working with burlap, the glue does love to seep through all of those loose knit holes, so you'll get burnt. Use a popsicle stick, a craft stick, whatever you have on hand to keep the glue from touching your fingers. Trim off the extra because we're not going to want that part. Once you've gone all the way around your board, we're going to move on to making sure we shabby chic this project. Take some white paint, and you could add a little bit of water to this if you were to do it on a plate. I'm just doing it directly on it because I want to still see the burlap coming through. I want it to look roughly painted to give it that shabby chic look. But you do as you would like for your craft room. You could also paint this a different color other than white, but I know for me, when I think of shabby chic, I think of white. Now moving over to the calendar. We are going to use the month of March, and we're also going to use the piece of cardboard that they have inside the calendar to support it from it getting bent really easily. We're going to trim it down to fit the dimensions of our wood sign that we just put the burlap on. And then we're going to use that cardboard. We're going to trim it down so that we can mount the artwork on top of it. But before we do, let's add some of this Dollar Tree lace to give it a more feminine touch. And then adding some adhesive to the back of our calendar picture. We're going to just glue that right into that lace framed cardboard. Now I wanted to make sure I continued on with my little bit of distressing here and there. So I'm taking the edges of that calendar artwork and I'm just going to kind of crinkle it, rip it a little bit here and there to distress it. Then we're going to glue that right onto our burlap board. Isn't this so beautiful already? Easy steps, and it has such a beautiful look. Now I'm going to take a beaded wreath ring from the Dollar Tree from their craft section. I cut it down so that I can make a handle. Typically when I use these wreath rings, I can usually get 3 to 4 handles out of it depending on how big I'm making handles. So that product always goes a really long way here in my craft room. I twisted the wire into place, and now we're going to bring in some more spring beautiful colors. I'm using this pink burlap bow that I get from the Dollar Tree, a larger pink satin bow that I got from Michael's. I'm going to just trim that down, glue that all into place, and then at this point it's so beautiful, but I really wanted to add some hardware to it. I found these hardware hinges on Amazon. I'll link them down below. I get them in a pack, and I'm just going to glue those to the side. Adding these hinges really finished the look of this project, and it was so easy to make. I hope you give this one a try because I sure do love this project, and I can't wait to style it in my home for spring. I love the little details of Shabby Chic whenever I decorate with that style in my home. I'm using this wood piece that I got in the craft section. I'm going to use this Fleur De Lis mold, some wire, and then some ribbon. Everything's from the Dollar Tree except for the wire because I just have a big roll of it. And you can get wire from the Dollar Tree. This is just one that I had on hand, as well as that mold. I'll make sure to link everything down below that I use in this project if you're interested in the mold. But I love a beautiful Fleur De Lis cabochon, so we're going to be using that for this project. Now for the wire, we cut it down to size. I stapled it to the back of the wood, making sure your staples are not too long. I stapled it into place and twisted the wires around. Now this footage is from a couple of weeks ago. I made a whole bunch of cabochons and you're going to see different nails, different shirt, and that's fine, no big deal. So I'm going to just push in my air dry clay into the mold, but before you do it, always make sure you add in a little bit of flour. That is going to allow you to be able to pull it out. You can also use baby powder, but it's going to allow you to be able to pull it out without it getting stuck in the mold. I ended up making a whole bunch of these and then I just let them air dry, so when I want to use them in my craft room, I can pull them out and use them. I'm now going to mount them onto my piece of wood. I used E6000 right in the middle to hold that down nice and strong, and then the hot glue for a short-term hold. This is going to allow it to lock in nicely, and then once you paint it, you won't have any issues with it. I ended up making sure I picked off any glue that spewed out from the sides, if you have that happen. Then I'm going to come in with some white paint, and I'm going to get all up in these crevices, all around the back side, making sure it has a nice coat of white paint. After everything had dried, I took some sandpaper and roughed up the edges and scratched it up just a little bit. This is where it's going to start really coming to life. Take some black paint and we're going to dry brush it. You don't want to be too saturated with the paint on your brush. It'll cause a problem. Very lightly start to dry brush in black all around these cabochon Fleur De Lis. And then I'm going to come in with a brown, distress a little bit with brown around the sides, and then come back in on these cabochons. And if it's too much in an area you don't like, you can use a wipey and remove some of it. That's no big deal. And then just keep working that brown and black paint into the cabochons so that it really brings a lot of texture to it. Now at this point, you could feel like, oh, I've ruined it. But when you come back with white on top and you lightly brush on top, look at all of the texture. Oh, could you just die as a crafter? Whenever moments like this happen for me and things come to life, I get so excited in my craft room. If I had this where I was recording it with my voice live on it, you would have heard me be like, oh, it's so pretty. Now I'm going to come in with this little metal tagged frame, and I'm going to use some of these push pins. I love using push pins because they look like grommets. And then I'm going to bring in some black paint right on top of those push pins, making sure I stick with that black cast iron look to this project. Now let's make it pretty as if it's not already pretty. And what I mean by that is let's bring in some beautiful ribbons. I tied on a lacy ribbon from the Dollar Tree. This key is something I get from Amazon, as well as that metal frame. I'll link them down below. Just like I said, I always try to link everything I can for you all if you want to look into it and see if it's for you. I will link it, but I tied on a key and then I just knotted it at the back and added on some more ribbons. This white ribbon is also from the Dollar Tree. Tie on all the ribbons that you would like to your heart's desire, as ribbony as you would like, if that's even a word to say it that way. Ribbony. And then I'm going to bring on this ticking stripe bow, and in the end, it's the most beautiful little shabby chic project. So easy to make and so fun. I was at the Dollar Tree the other day and I found this frame that says remote learning in progress. Thank heavens we're not doing that anymore, because that was a really challenging time in my home. I also picked up this chess game, and we're going to be using some of the pieces to create legs to turn this remote learning in progress sign into a little tray. I'm also going to be using eggs and some Spanish moss, because we're going to turn this frame into a little nest box, which is going to be so adorable. I honestly think you can turn anything into a nest or a bunny for spring. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you agree. I feel like you can pretty much turn anything into a nest. And I thought this would be so cute if I almost made it like a little hen's nest box for their eggs for the spring. I thought it had such a farmhouse shabby chic look to it, which just makes my heart so happy. So I'm gluing on the legs with some E6000 and some hot glue. I'm really making sure that hot glue is seeping down in there, but I always put in the E6000 first and make sure that makes contact with the frame. And then I sneak around that corner and get all that hot glue up in there and let it trickle all into the little chest piece and then all over down into the sign where it's sticking. Now I'm going to come in on the art side of this frame and I'm going to put some glue. I'm going to add in some Spanish moss. And once that's all settled, I'm going to make little holes so that I can glue in my eggs so that they stay nice in place and they're glued to the bottom of this artwork frame. Now you can see here, I'm just wiggling my fingers around, opening that up some. I'm going to make sure the glue goes up inside the egg, because if you just put the glue on the egg, it's plastic, it's going to pop off. But if you get some up in the egg and then come out around the egg, that's going to lock it into place and it will never pop off. It'll be on there nice and secure. So I'm just going to wiggle in 4 eggs because that's the width of this frame that it can fit. And then at the front, we could stop there and we could even distress it with a little bit of white paint to make it even more shabby. It's up to you with what you prefer in your home. But I'm going to use one of these garden tags. I popped off the stick and I'm going to glue that onto the front. Now listen, friends, I went to Costco before all the prices of the eggs went out of control. I ended up getting eggs like a lucky little hen. I'm going to not say duck, I'm going to say hen because hens make eggs. I ended up getting a hold of eggs right before all the crazy stuff went down. And now I can't even find eggs at Costco. Leave a comment down below to let me know if you're having a hard time finding eggs at Costco like I am, or if they're outrageously priced again at grocery stores. And out of comedic purpose, I thought I'm going to list this as 5 cents. Yeah, right, eggs are 5 cents right now. They're so expensive. Absolutely outrageous how expensive eggs are. If you were one of the lucky ones that got eggs before everything went crazy, congratulations. And if not, oh friends, I hope these prices go down again soon because groceries are already so ridiculous. So we're going to say our eggs are 5 cents because we can dream. We can dream a little bit. Go ahead and glue your little tag onto the front. And when you're done, you have the most charming shabby chic farmhouse decor piece for somewhere in your home. For this DIY, I'm going to be taking a trash can from the Dollar Tree and we are going to be manipulating it into a top hat for spring. So what you do is you take it at the middle, towards the bottom some, and you're just going to start pressing it in, squeezing it. This mesh wire bends really easily without having any issues, and you can see that I'm pinching the extra down inside the hat. Once I've got that pinched, I went ahead and squished it one more time, so I kind of have almost like a zigzag in the wire where it's pinched underneath and then it's brought in a little bit towards the bottom again where the top hat meets the rim. So I'm creating it to not be so tall. If I didn't do this where I pushed it in one more time, it would almost be too tall. So you can see that right there, there's some metal that's pinched to zigzag back and forth. Then at the top, I took a round piece of burlap. I cut that and glued that on and pressed it down. And now I'm taking another piece of burlap to go around the side of the top of the hat. And I'm just going to cut off any extra and then glue everything down in place. The trick to make this look high-end is you want to make sure you have as clean a line as possible. And then for the brim of the hat, I've decided to take some of this pretty lace burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And first I'm going to zigzag it back and forth because it's got a wire in it, and that's going to make my job so much easier. And then I'm going to take the ribbon and put it on to the rim of the hat. And I'm coming underneath and adding the hot glue like this, because this is allowing it to be able to seep down in there and lock everything on. And then one more tip, I came back in with my hot glue and I went underneath each one of the pleats and added a little dot of hot glue to make sure the pleats don't lift up. Now you can still see the wire around that bottom part of the hat. I don't want to see that. So I'm going to take another piece of burlap ribbon. I'm using this teal color, which is really pretty. And then I'm going to come back in with this gingham ribbon. All of these ribbons are from the Dollar Tree except for obviously the tan burlap that I brought in from Joann's. And I wrapped it around a couple times, and I'm using that gingham ribbon to clean up the top of that teal ribbon, because I did have to kind of, you know, pleat it and fold it on there to be able to conceal all of that last of that wire. Now you could definitely leave the wire exposed. I did actually see somebody who was on Pinterest who had the wire exposed, but I did not like the wire exposed. I wanted to cover it up. I thought this was so much prettier, and for $1 with all of these other little supplies here and there, it turned out so pretty. So now I'm coming in on the side and I'm just adding on some florals, and then I'm going to take some of my bead garland that you know I love so much, and I just coiled that around my finger and stuck that down in there. And then I'm going to add on a really big, beautiful gingham bow over towards the back. And then the last finishing touches, because it's for Easter, springtime, I'm going to add in a couple carrots up at the top. And after that, it's ready to be displayed somewhere in your home. For this craft, we are going to be using one of these bunny Easter signs. We're going to be using one of these signs from the fall season, but honestly, they sell these all year long with just different holidays on the front covers of these little box signs, some florals, and one of these tiles that you can pick up in their home improvement section in the Dollar Tree store. So we're going to take our bunny and we are going to cut the particle board with the little arms. We're going to cut those parts off so it's rounded, and then we're also going to take off the twine and the tag, and we're going to be covering this bunny with this textured tile. So how we're going to get that process done, we're going to lay the bunny on top of that tile. It's a little bumpy while you're tracing, so just take your time going over it, making sure you get your line nice and defined. I'm using a Sharpie marker because I'm eventually going to be painting this anyway. I'm also going to be cutting inside of the line versus directly on that black line, because you can see when you're tracing it, it has a little bit of a wider trace on it. It'll be hanging over a little too much. So cut inside the black line, and then when you go to pull off that plastic, you're going to realize that the adhesive sheet they had on the back is actually bound to the edges of the tile, so that whole piece is going to come off, and that's actually okay. I found that it worked out even better that way. So I made sure my hot glue was really hot, and then I went ahead and made a quick line all the way around the bunny so that the glue doesn't dry. Make sure your hot glue is really, really hot so that it can go all the distance without it cooling off. Then we're going to come back in and line up that tile on the bunny the best we can with the remainder of that piece that we have left over, and cut off the bottom rounded part add some hot glue, and then combined it right where that joint is. And this is going to make it look pretty seamless. It gets pretty close. I love the texture of these tiles, and there's such a possibility with these, and they're only $1.25. So if you find them in your store, definitely pick them up. Now I'm going to cover mine with a nice crisp white, but you honestly could do whatever color you want for your bunny and your theme that you're doing for your Easter season, spring season. Now you can use a heat gun on it, but just be mindful that you're working with plastic still because of that tile, so keep it moving quick. And then on the back side of your bunny, make sure you tidy it up with some paint, or if you get a second tile, you can do the tiles on the back. That could be kind of pretty too, especially if you're putting this on a table for a display for a dinner, or just, I don't know, you want to be able to see both sides. You could do the tile on the back and add a little cotton bunny tail. That could be so cute too. So now we're going to add some texture and bring these tiles to life. I used a little bit of black paint with more brown, mixed it together, and now I'm dry brushing. You can see that I used a towel there, a paper towel, to get off the majority of the paint, because we only want to basically scrape across the surface of the raised tile texture so that we pick up that look. And now it has this vintage looking farmhouse tiles. I just think it turned out so pretty. Now we're going to take our bunny and we are going to glue it into our box. This box is going to allow our bunny to stand up anywhere we want to display it. And we're going to take some of these foam squares from the Dollar Tree. We're going to pop those in with some hot glue, and as well as some of this Spanish moss. This is going to conceal that foam and really clean it up and make it look like it's store-bought. Now pick the florals you want. I'm going to be using a lot of lavender, white, and a very soft pink throughout my whole spring season. So I am using these colors, but you can use whatever colors you want. You could go with a really pretty crisp white and pinks or yellows, and basically make a little garden for your bunny box. And the last is just simply take a twine bow or whatever bow you want to use and pop that right on your bunny. Oh friends, I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you for stopping in and watching these 5 Shabby Chic farmhouse projects today. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Thank you for being here. Now I'm going to recommend this video right here if you missed it, as well as my new mega video that just came out for spring. And until the next episode, bye friends.